How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing. I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through. That changes now, Sean. You have no choice. That Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter. They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly.
50 Cent and Jaguar Wright just dropped a truth bomb that has the entire industry shaking. And if you still think this story begins and ends with Diddy, you've already been misdirected, because the real message isn't that Diddy is innocent, it's that Diddy was never the boss. He was the distraction, the leverage, the visible piece of a much bigger machine that's been operating quietly above him for decades. And before we even start climbing this pyramid the way we always do, hit like and subscribe right now, because stories like this don't stay visible unless people engage. And what you're about to hear is exactly the kind of narrative the industry works overtime to suppress. Because once you understand the structure, you can't unsee it. And nothing about this case looks random anymore.
I believe that they gave me a raw deal because this industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it, and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, up them, Dave, why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation because the master over there might be nicer? My God, man, I was trapped. You know what? Tell you the truth. I've even thought about coming back and doing another Chappelle show. Well, but if I do...
Jaguar Wright has been saying this for years. Long before lawsuits, long before documentaries, long before it was safe to even whisper Diddy's name in a negative sentence, she kept repeating the same thing over and over, that Diddy wasn't acting alone, that his power didn't come just from money or fame or influence, but from leverage, from what he allegedly had on people, from what was seen, recorded, and never meant to leave those rooms. And Jaguar doesn't describe Diddy as the mastermind, she describes him as the position, the gatekeeper, the one close enough to the chaos to control it, but loud enough to take the heat when things went wrong. And when you look back now, the way Diddy stayed protected for decades despite non-stop rumors, lawsuits, and industry whispers, it starts to feel less like coincidence and more like design, because nobody survives that long without protection unless their survival protects someone else too. That's where this stops being celebrity gossip and starts feeling dangerous, because Jaguar keeps pointing to a hierarchy, a pyramid of power, where the people at the bottom take the public heat, the people in the middle manage the narratives.
I want you to think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane, to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter. Yeah. Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened, and yet they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it.
And the people at the top never have to explain themselves at all. And the reason people get uncomfortable when Jaguar talks isn't because she's wrong, it's because she's naming the structure out loud. And once you name the structure, you threaten everyone who benefits from it. This is exactly why 50 Cent's role in this matters so much, because while Jaguar has been blunt, confrontational, and unapologetic, 50 has been calculated, strategic, and relentless in a completely different way. When the Diddy allegations exploded into the mainstream, most of the industry went silent overnight. People distanced themselves, deleted photos, rewrote timelines, suddenly remembered they left early. But 50 went the opposite direction. He leaned in, he amplified the conversation, and he said something that hit harder than any accusation. He said, if he stayed silent, the entire culture would look like it endorsed what was being alleged. That wasn't a throwaway line, that was a warning. Because 50 understands how power works, he understands leverage, and he understands fear. Notice what 50 didn't do. He didn't frame Diddy as some lone monster operating in isolation. He didn't pretend this was just one bad actor. He framed Diddy as a symptom, as part of something bigger, something that made people panic the moment the spotlight turned on. Because once Diddy fell, the real danger wasn't what he might say about himself.
It's like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein-type compromise deal, where he had, whether he was doing it himself, conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically, and yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be.
They had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams is talking about it on
exactly.
Yeah, on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids?
Right. Yeah. And what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him and they're willing to keep quiet about all this? Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood, and you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these. You're like,
it was what he might say about everyone else. And that's when you start seeing behavior that tells you more than any allegation ever could. Think about how fast the industry's language changed the moment the story broke. Suddenly, everyone had the exact same script. I was there, but not after dark. I left early. I didn't see anything. That's not how innocent people usually talk. Innocent people don't clarify which part of the party they weren't at. Innocent people don't explain layers they supposedly didn't know existed. The moment you say, I didn't go to the second part, you're admitting you knew there was a second part. And that's the part nobody wants to acknowledge. Jaguar Wright has been hammering this point for years, saying Diddy's parties weren't just excess. They weren't just celebrity nonsense. They were leverage factories, environments where powerful people compromised themselves, knowingly or unknowingly. And once compromised, silence wasn't optional. It was survival. And again, these are claims, allegations, commentary. But here's the part nobody has been able to explain away. The behavior surrounding these allegations looks exactly like what you'd expect if leverage existed.
Lawsuit that's suing Tony Busby? Spiro is a partner, and Alex Spiro is Jay-Z's personal lawyer.
Oh, so it's probably Jay-Z then that's doing the suing.
Of course they'd use Kevin's name, but it ain't Kevin. Why is Alex Spiro popping up everywhere?
What do you think is going on in Hollywood right now? What are you hearing? Because I'm hearing
mass panic. Mass panic.
So because no one's talking publicly.
No, they can't. That's why they came up with the story. Well, there's a party inside the Diddy party, and I went to the first party, but I left early. I never made it to Diddy After Dark. There were public relations teams right after Diddy got arrested running around telling everyone to say that.
Of course.
The question is this. If all you went to was the first party and you didn't know anything about the After Dark, why would you say, I left early? Why wouldn't you just say you left when the party ended?
Exactly.
Because how would you know there was another party if you weren't informed?
Exactly.
If you went to the Diddy party and nothing happened and it was the first party, your speech wouldn't be, oh, well, I only went to the first party. I didn't go to the after party. You wouldn't say that because you wouldn't have known about it. You would say, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I went to Diddy's party. It was a white party. It was dancing. It was wild. But at the end, we all went home.
Right.
That's not what y'all are saying.
Nope.
You're saying, I didn't go to the second party. I only went to the first. The only thing you're proving is that you're hiding being there.
Yeah.
because you wouldn't have known about another
Exactly.
party.
Mass silence, coordinated distancing, lawyers overlapping, stories disappearing, interviews getting pulled, careers freezing overnight. That doesn't happen when the problem is contained. That happens when exposure threatens a structure. Jaguar says Diddy wasn't the architect, he was the vault, the keeper of secrets. The man positioned close enough to the mess to control it, but visible enough to absorb the consequences if something went wrong. And real power doesn't want to be seen hosting the party. Real power doesn't want to be on camera. Real power sets the conditions, benefits from the outcome, and stays insulated when things collapse. That's why the idea of a higher power above Diddy keeps surfacing, because control doesn't show up in headlines, it shows up in who gets protected, who gets ignored, and who gets erased. 50 Cent has been hinting at this without spelling it out, talking about panic behind the scenes, about people scrambling to control narratives, about silence being louder than denial, and every time he brings it up, nobody really challenges him, they just go quiet, and silence is an answer. If he was wrong, someone would push back. If there was nothing there, someone would call it out. But instead, the industry tiptoes around the conversation.
Next thing you know, she's f***ing Ray J. And then it's Grammy time.
That happened.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight. And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot. Leola has said, Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beaten. They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat up.
Because when systems are involved, nobody wants to be the first domino. Ask yourself this honestly. If Diddy really acted alone, why hasn't anyone powerful rushed to clearly and loudly condemn him without hedging, without distancing language, without PR-safe statements? Why all the careful wording? Why the fear of saying the wrong thing? Because when systems are involved, condemnation isn't free. It has consequences. Jaguar Wright keeps saying the real danger isn't one man being exposed, it's the public realizing accountability stopped somewhere it shouldn't have. Because once people stop asking what happened and start asking how it was allowed, the conversation moves upward, and that's when people start getting uncomfortable. This is why the thumbnail question matters. Who controls him? Not what did he do, not is he guilty, but who benefited from his silence? Who needed him in place? Who stayed clean as long as he stayed protected? Jaguar claims that power sits above the music industry itself.
Favorite memory working with Diddy?
You know, personally, I've got to tell you, he really is a major star in this film tonight. He's a spokesman all the way through. I met him before I ever knew of him. I met him when he was 21 years old. And when we met, you know, he played me Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear. He played me 3 cuts from the forthcoming Notorious B.I.G. album. And we talked for hours and hours about music, and I bought into his dream. And I financed Bad Boy Records. And we had an incredible run, an incredible period.
And in 1993, he and Clive Davis founded Bad Boy Records. Clive Davis, how do you describe Clive Davis? There's an infomercial about him now, which is a document. It's been called a documentary, and it makes him look like this benign octogenarian that's helped all these rock stars with their careers. But people in the music industry really don't like Clive Davis, most of them. And his criminality is kind of amazing.
Above artists, above labels, in circles where influence isn't measured by fame, but by access. And 50 hasn't named those people, but he hasn't denied their existence either. And that silence speaks louder than any accusation. The reason this moment feels different is because the narrative isn't stopping where it used to. It's moving up the pyramid. And once a story starts moving upward instead of sideways, it doesn't stop easily. Even if some claims turn out exaggerated, the structure Jaguar and 50 are pointing to is real. Industries protect themselves. Power consolidates. Silence is rewarded. Exposure is punished. That's not conspiracy. That's history. Which means the real threat to the system isn't one lawsuit, one tape, or one documentary. It's people asking the wrong question for too long and then finally asking the right one. Because once the public starts asking who was really above Diddy, the illusion breaks. And when the illusion breaks, the protection weakens. So I'll leave you with this. If Diddy wasn't the boss, if he was just the leverage, just the face, just the distraction, then who do you think was really above him, pulling the strings the entire time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over, and the next breakdown goes even deeper into the names people are terrified to talk about. So make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss what comes next.